Smile. Welcome to our YouTube channel.
Hello, welcome. My name is Teni.
And I'm Jay.
Welcome to the echoes of our voices.
Good to have you guys back.
Yes. Okay, so let's get right into it. So today we're going to be talking about a topic that we feel like some people might have been able to, that some people might be able to relate to or might have experienced before. And this topic is called Japa loneliness. So, Joke, what would you say Japa loneliness means, especially for our viewers who do not understand the meaning of Japa or maybe loneliness?
So basically, Japa means immigration. It's often used by most Nigerians, and it's a term very common to Nigerians. It just means immigrating to another country where you get to start all over again. So that's basically what Japa is. And so when you say Japa loneliness, it means the loneliness that comes with immigrating to another country to start a new life.
Okay, good to know. Yeah, I feel like that's something that I can relate to, especially because even with Japan loneliness, it doesn't even have to just be to another country. Even just moving from one state to another, I feel like some people will still experience loneliness. It's just like when you're taken from a familiar environment into a completely new environment, there's bound to be that sense of I would say adjustment, and sometimes during that period of adjustment, loneliness can set in. Your experience with Japan loneliness. Would you want me to start, or would you like to start? Because I would say that Japan loneliness. Mine is a very peculiar case, to be honest. Because whenever I see people complain about Japan loneliness on the internet, it's always when they first arrive to the country that they are in that they experience it.
So, why are we even shooting this video in the first place? Because we've seen a lot of videos online of people saying, "Oh, I'm in the UK, I'm in Canada, I'm lonely. This is what's going." People crying out on social media and just experiencing their concerns and telling people not to come. Well, then this is a topic we have to talk about so people can learn, know what to expect, when coming to another country, which is also the loneliness that comes with Japan and how to avoid it.
Absolutely. And we can't really say for a fact that you will never experience loneliness. Like sometimes you might experience it if you go to another country, or sometimes you might go to another country and you can be totally fine. So it's not everybody that immigrates that is going to experience loneliness, but just for some people that actually do experience it, we just want to try and share what we also went through, which is loneliness, and how we were able to get through it. So hopefully this helps you. And so yeah, so for me, my experience with Japa loneliness, it's actually a little bit peculiar because when I first came to the US, I came as a student. So funny enough, I didn't actually feel lonely when I was in school, because when I came to school, I was immediately thrown into that new college environment. We had to do so many like international student orientations. We had to do classes, so you didn't even have time to even sit down and be lonely, because as soon as you finish one class, it's on to the next
Gotta
class.
be busy.
Yes, like it's a very busy lifestyle. And I think one thing that also helps with loneliness is working. That's why a lot of people work. Like, oh my goodness, when I was actually lonely, I was working. But anyways, that's another story. So basically, when I started in the US, I went to school here, and I didn't experience loneliness that much. I did experience a little bit of I would say I was still trying to find my sense of belonging, which I eventually did. Like one of my really good friends in college, we graduated together, and even till now we're still friends. So sometimes if you're able to find your tribe on time, it really helps to curb away that loneliness. And I feel like that's what really helped when I was in school. However, when I graduated 2021, and then I had to move away from my school. So you see, I already had that sense of familiarity in school because I already had my friends and everybody there. So moving from school and then starting over in a new place, in a new city, a new job, that was when mine actually kicked in. So that was my own experience. So my own Japa loneliness didn't start until after years of being in this country. But how about you, Joking?
So before I even go into that, that just shows that loneliness when it comes to Japan can come at any season. So it doesn't have to be right away before immediately when you get to the country. It could be months after, even years when you have to move to places. So that's why it's so Japan loneliness, because if you move from one state to another, you can experience that loneliness because you're not familiar with this country, so to say. The state you're going to, you're not familiar with it. And then the culture here is also different. You can't go knocking on someone's door and trying to make friends. You cannot do that here because people are, scared of their safety. And it's, it's a team here where people just like to be by themselves, except you're their family or they know you from somewhere. So that's why it still can happen at any time, just to point that out. But for me, when it comes to Japa loneliness, I'd say I actually did not also experience Japa loneliness until I started working. Because when I got to school, when I got to the United States, I came here for my master's. And then during that time, I had friends who are like from Nigerians, international students. So we got busy, we had activities. And, I had some activities we're going to talk about later on in this video. But I had activities I was doing because I was in school. So there was more like opportunities to just do something. But when I started working, especially when I moved to another state, I moved to Virginia, it was so hard at first. Like I would look at myself at the four walls of my apartment and it was just me. Except I make calls, but then making calls cannot take the place of having someone right in front of you, having something to do. So again, COVID also contributed to loneliness for everyone. So that was it for me too. So I kind of relate with the fact that it started when I started working. So
Okay. Yeah. So our cases are actually very similar, it
similar.
looks like. So I think for a lot of people that are recently immigrating, most of them don't immigrate as students. They immigrate maybe as workers. And I feel like when you're a student, it might be a little bit so to say easier than someone who just came while they just came to work, or they came with maybe as a spouse of somebody. Because even if, yeah, you have your spouse, but eventually your spouse is going to leave, going to go to work. So it's like, what will you do when you don't have your spouse with you? You still have to try and make your own tribe. So for me, my own experience with being lonely in this country was after I started working. So like the first year I moved to this new city, I really didn't know anybody. I mean, I knew like a few people, but I would say everybody had their own thing they were doing. Like Joker said, you can't just be knocking on people's doors. Everybody had their own life, so I had to kind of figure it out on my own. Which, I mean, I'm grateful for. I feel like it really helped me to build that independence and resilience, which is something that I still I'm able to fall back on. At least I know even if wherever I am, I'll be fine no matter what. So that was one thing. It was just really hard initially, and also just starting during COVID too. I think, yeah, that also contributed to mine. It was just that whole feeling of, oh, you're just taking care of COVID patients. Everyone is sick around you, so you can't just be free to socially interact with people because everybody's afraid of getting sick. And then with also the job I was doing as well, it's I was just starting out, so I feel like there was a lot of things to learn, and I started also getting burnt out. So it was just all that combined was just like, okay, I just started isolating myself from people, and then I just felt like nobody could really understand what I was going through. So how would you say like your own loneliness manifested in your
So for me, it was just realizing that there were moments I would just stay in the house and I didn't really want to talk to anyone. I was just like, oh my God, I'm like so down. Like I just started having this feeling of being down. And again, loneliness is not the same thing as depression. Just to put that out there, don't think because you're lonely you're depressed. They're two different things. And that being said, loneliness can also can also progress to depression. So that's why we're talking about this. So you don't get to that point where you're like, oh, I'm depressed now, because it's very crucial. So for me, I think I was just feeling down. And I remember a moment where I was like, oh, maybe I need to start making friends. I need to be going out more. So I just had that feeling of not, and again, for someone like me who's an extrovert, it was something I noticed quickly because I couldn't really like, I was talking to myself often, like I had to like make videos, just dance and things like those kind of weird things, which are fun things too, but they were becoming so weird because I didn't have this interpersonal relationship with someone, so I was having to just build within myself, and so I noticed that I think this can be some sort of loneliness. So I was like, we better fix this.
Wow. See, that's the thing. Extroverts always like, they have like been around people, social butterflies. Me, I'm more in the middle. I'm more of like an ambivert. So actually, you talking about your experience in nursing school actually reminds me of my own experience when I first started. So initially when I started, I felt this feeling of, oh, I didn't feel like I belonged, a sense of alienation at first. So because I was so busy with classes and school and everything, I didn't really register it as loneliness. I just thought, oh, it's just because I'm in a new country, a new environment, that it would take time to adjust. But it wasn't until I found my tribe that I actually now figured, and I finally found a sense of belonging. So basically, in my school was a small school. So basically, the athletes, they had their own people. The theater and music kids had their own people. So me, as an international student and as an African, I kind of formed my own circle with a few of my friends that I met. So my majority of my friend group back in college were mostly international students, Africans and Caribbeans. So those were like the main, and a lot of them I still talk to till today. Like one of my really good friends, she's Ghanaian, and even to I mean it's been 2 years since I graduated, and we still talk. So it's just that that sense of belonging. I feel it actually came after I met my tribe, but I didn't register it as loneliness because I just thought, oh, that was a normal thing that everybody would go through. So it might have been loneliness at that point. Who knew? But for me, what I really felt was loneliness was after I graduated and then I moved to another city to start a new job. And that was when I really felt like, this one is like the real loneliness. So, so maybe both of them were loneliness. Who knows?
True. So I think actually when you don't feel that you belong somewhere, at some point you start to feel lonely because again, if you don't belong somewhere, it's like you're left to find what works for you. So in that moment of you trying to find what tribe you belong to, tribe of Judah, whatever tribe, I think you experience a little bit of loneliness during that time until you find your tribe.
Hmm. Okay. So, for me, like one of the characteristics that I felt experiencing loneliness was this feeling of social anxiety.
That's big.
Because for me, I wouldn't call myself an extrovert. I'm definitely not an extrovert, but I'm not like completely, a social hermit. Like I still like to go out, meet people. I'm more in the middle. I'm an ambivert. I would say my own feeling of loneliness, it was maybe after 6 months to 8 months of isolation, and I realized that, oh wow, that I'm actually not able to even approach people and talk to people like that anymore. It was hard for me to make eye contact. It was hard for me to just basically smile at people. So I think that feeling of social anxiety might have actually started when I started feeling lonely, but I just didn't realize because I had already isolated myself for so long that at that point, this feeling of loneliness and social anxiety was becoming my new normal. But then after a while, I realized that something has to change. I can't keep doing this. I have to be able to approach people because they're human beings like me. Like I shouldn't be afraid of people just because I'm not getting to interact with people on a day-to-day basis. So I had to kind of basically force myself to change my mind and try to force myself to think that, oh, these people are human beings like you, that they're not going to hurt you. Highest they will say is no if you ask them for something. That's it. Like they're not going to, no one's gonna kill you. So that's just basically it.
So yeah, social anxiety is actually very big in America. It's a big deal.
Yeah.
Because if you have that, it's quite frightening. I think for me, it was just this feeling of feeling down. And again, we need to be able to understand that being lonely doesn't mean you're depressed.
Hmm.
But again, loneliness can result in depression. So you need to identify that as soon as you can and find ways to not be lonely or just find a tribe.
Hmm.
So for me, I was feeling so down. I was feeling out of place, especially because I'm an extrovert and an extrovert like me that likes talking, making friends, and just having to like shut up for days was concerning for me when I'm not retreating. It was quite concerning, and that was the moment I knew that I need to step up and find something that works for me in this new environment, or make do with what I have just to create the opportunity I want.
Hmm. Okay. So after going through that period of loneliness, what were like the steps that you had to take to actually start combating that feeling of loneliness? I mean, like for me, I can say mine. Mine was actually trying to put myself out there. Like I started going to events. Like even Joker will tell you, I knew all the event that was happening
She
in
was our
London.
plug.
Yeah, for real. If there was one event in one festival somewhere, I'm like, oh, you guys, let's go. Like I was always trying to make sure that there were things happening to try and get myself out of the house because I was always in the house too much to the point where I wasn't seeing people a lot. So I was like, yeah, I need to actually like put myself out there. So that one thing I started doing was actually going out there and meeting people. Like you can claim, oh yes, I'm only, but it's like we have to actually look for events in your area. I'm sure they have some kind of event going on. If you go on Facebook, Facebook events, just type in Facebook events near me. Facebook will bring it up. Another app that I used is called Meetup. Meetup is a really good app for people that want to try a new skill, a new hobby, or just want to meet people with a particular interest group. Like for me, I joined the group for there was a group for 20s to 30s in Roanoke, and then there was a group for people that wanted to try photography because I like photography as well. Check out my Instagram. And then and then also for people like those, there's so many things on Meetup that if you're
I remember we had to drive 45 minutes to go boxing with that one
Yes.
time, and then she found out on Meetup.
yeah, exactly. So
That was
it's
quite
like,
interesting.
yeah, me, I've never been boxing, so I mean it was a fun experience for sure. So it's like if you feel like you're not meeting people, you just have to put yourself out there. You see an event, I know it's hard, but just like the only thing you can do is just go and try your best to just enjoy the experience, you know. But you actually have to take the step first. You can't just sit at home and then keep complaining or keep being sad that that you're not able to meet people, but you're not actually going out there. I'm not, it's just from my own experience at least.
So for me, I'd say first of all, it's always good to pray before you move somewhere, pray before you go anywhere as a Christian. I'm talking from a Christian perspective here. So in as much as you're also trying to meet people, you can pray for that God should connect you with the right people, people that would not only nourish your life but enrich your life, and you can also contribute to their lives as well. So that was a key thing for me. I'd prayed for friends. I'd prayed for just not friends, but people who would share the same values as myself, and also help me in this journey of life that I'm pursuing. So that was part of it. And you can always start somewhere too. I joined a couple of church groups. I had a group for I'd seen a group, I think, on Twitter one time, and I'd reached out that I wanted to join. I joined the group. So I was, even though it's still online, you start somewhere, right? Then just sitting down in your house and just getting bored and just sitting on Instagram. Because Instagram can even make you feel more lonely, in case you don't know that. You guys just sit on Instagram every day, morning to night, and just scroll to people's pages, and you're like, oh, why is my life not like this?
Exactly.
And then you're just, putting in something in your mind that you shouldn't.
Yes. So you said the church group on Twitter.
Yeah, so again, like you don't have, it doesn't have to be like in person. You start with maybe online. Again, online cannot take the place of in person, but you just start somewhere. You don't just want to sit down on Instagram and scroll into people's life and using that as a yardstick for yourself, because that will even make you feel more lonely. So like I was able to find groups online. That was after I moved down here. But in school, I'll tell what I did in school when I figured that my friends were gone. I had to like open up myself up to meeting other people from different cultures, people that don't look exactly like me, because I struggled with that a lot, because I feel like we don't share common values most time, and so I didn't want to feel like an outsider or feel like an outlier in the group. So I opened myself up to something. I'm going to share a little story with y'all. So I had this clinical group where I usually, because everybody in the clinical group were friends, because before you choose a clinical, you can actually tell your friends, oh, let's choose this together. I didn't have friends, so I was like, okay, I better just throw myself somewhere that works for me, choose a day of the week that works for me, and I think I chose Thursdays. And so I ended up being in a group where I knew nobody. Like I'd literally not seen any of these people before, and so it was so hard for me. And I remember not talking. I was so quiet. Imagine someone like me that talked every single day. I couldn't talk. I was just so quiet, and then I started to think that this girl is so quiet. Then one day, which happens to be unfortunately the last day of the clinical, our clinical instructor said, "Okay, let's play a game." And that game is I forgot what they call it. More like Jeopardy. It's Jeopardy, but in this case, you would describe a disease, and then we have to name what disease it is, or maybe a condition, and you say what medications can we use. Just trying to identify and giving us clues to identify what the disease we're talking about here was. And so I remember I was so, and I'm very competitive. Don't be in a game with me. I'm very competitive. If I see that the competition is too much or is fighting somewhere, I stay back because I'm very competitive. And so I remember just jumping and yelling the answers, and everybody were like, "Whoa, wait a minute, is this the same person we've been in clinical with for the past 3 months?" And so it was kind of wild. And then I was very close with my instructor because I had, when it comes to learning, I like to learn a lot. And then when I see like there's a gap, I try to reach out to my instructors in school and say, well, I want to learn more. I think this is not right. Can we talk about this? And so I was close with my pediatric instructor at that time because I was able to, talk to her about things in the class and, talk about different things and just again be vocal. Don't just say because I'm a new person somewhere and just keep to yourself. I remember we had this don't laugh at me. We had this I'm gonna go back to what I'm talking about in a little bit, but we had a pediatric exam, and in the exam they were talking about the several games they had in America. And then coming from Nigeria, bro, the kind of games we play, like you play with sand, we have toys though, but as a kid, you play with toys most of the time. And so they were talking about peekaboo, pat the back, and I was like, what in the world is this in the exam? And okay, it was in the textbook, but I didn't read that part in the textbook. But in the exam, I was like, what in the world is this? What is a peekaboo? But I know peekaboo now because my friends have kids and I play with them on video. I'm like peekaboo, and they laugh with me and all that. But it was so funny. And then afterwards, I remember going to my school and I'm like, excuse me, ma, I just think this is really not fair because I'm from a country where we don't, we have certain games we play, we have certain things we do as kids. So I'm not able to relate with some of these things in the test. Is there a way, maybe additional resources I could read that would help me in the exam, or like just also as a lecturer, identifying these barriers and just keeping at the back of your mind that this can happen to a student. So how can we reach that common ground? And again, they can't really bend those rules totally just because in NCLEX, they don't care if you're from Japan, Nigeria or something. Mm-hmm. So, but I remember talking to her, that was the point where I became really close to her. And so now going back to that story, so they told her and then she came back to tell me, like, oh, we can't believe that she could talk that much. And then she came telling me and she was like, this is what your colleagues are saying in class. And I was so embarrassed. I was like, oh my God, I had to remove myself at the end of the clinic. I was doing good. And so after that incident, then she brought me in front of the class too. That was also very embarrassing. And then she was like, I have somebody who's so she tried to play the same game in class. That's in the general class because we had played the game in the clinical group. And then she was like, oh, I'm going to bring Jay out today because that's what they call me in school. And she's going to be helping with the game. I got up and then they were like, do you guys think she's quiet? They were asking the entire class, a class of about 100 students. And then my clinical group were like, nope, 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 nope. And I was so embarrassed. So that being said, that kind of like opened me to more friendship because after that, people were giving me unsolicited hugs. Like they will literally come to me. I'm like, hey, Jay, and hug. And I was like, what's going on here? Like, can we take a step backwards?
Like, let's calm down.
Yeah, let's slow things. And then I'll be going to class or leaving class and I'll be saying, hey, hi. And that was so, it was, I kind of liked the attention. I wouldn't lie because I'm an extrovert, but I was like really embarrassed. And so I became buddies with a lot of people after that incident. And I had some friends that were really good to me that we had started the accelerator program together. And we were going to take summer classes too, but they were not Nigerians. But we got close to in that moment. I was also the accelerated representative for my class, which is basically the president for the class for accelerated students. So, I had to just develop this boldness and start interacting with people from nowhere. So that was part of how I was able to just break out of that shell. And then I would also go to game activities organized by my fellowship, my church group, and I'll also host some of those things. So I'll gather my friends together and not even in the nursing program, like, maybe in the masters and say, can we meet together? Can we just have Bible study, fellowship together, sing together? Because I enjoy singing a lot and play games. So that kind of took me out of that era of being lonely. And it just helped. And then I went to nursing school during COVID. So that was also quite challenging. But I started my YouTube page during that time. I also have a private YouTube page, but I'll leave that for now. But so those were the things I did because I had to put myself out there, go to church activities, meet people, be intentional about meeting people. If you don't meet people, people are not going to come to you. You have to at least, or have that aura, have that, that
welcoming.
that welcoming spirit. Because if you don't, people don't want to make friends with someone that has kind of hardened. People don't want to. So just be open to that, and just also identify that there is loneliness. It will happen, but just open yourself up. Like I said, I'm talking too much.
No, this is really good advice. I mean, people actually. I hope you guys are taking notes.
Please
Like,
do.
she's a wealth of knowledge, you guys. But yeah, so she. If you're looking for someone who's like the top champion in making friends, this girl right here, she's amazing. She knows how to make friends with anybody.
Now I have too many friends. I can't even keep up. I'm like, I'm sorry.
Or do we have a phone be buzzing
like-
every second? I'm like, Miss Popular. I think.
Can't
But
keep
yeah,
up again.
mine was more of like a slow burn approach, because I think it took like a year for me, or almost 2 years, to even get over like this Japa loneliness that I felt. But one thing that helped was like I mentioned before, just putting myself out there through like going to events in my area, and hopefully being able to meet people through that event. And then another thing that helped also was finding a church community. Because when I had moved from where I was in college, I had a church there, and that was like my community along with my college friends. But moving to the new city, I was still trying to find a home church. And I'm Christian, so I'm just speaking from my own perspective. But for me, I think a church is more or less like a community for me as well. Some people might not feel that way, but I feel like for me, because I grew up in church, and I feel like that's like a second home for me. So finding a church community where I feel welcome and I feel supported by the brethren in the church and the pastors and everybody it was very helpful for me. And I'm grateful to have found one through Jay and another of our colleague who introduced us to the church. So it was definitely a lot, like it was like kind of like the launching pad to being able to overcome that feeling of loneliness. And also just trying to also remember that I can also start hosting events. I don't have to wait to be invited to things. If you feel like nobody's inviting you to something, you can start your own and invite
Yeah.
people. People always like to come to eat. That's for sure. So you can start something and then invite people, and then see how people are going to turn up. And then before you know it, like me now, like they know me for cooking now. Like in fact, it's like they're going to be making me chef now in Roanoke.
International food.
Yeah.
Eat something you've not eaten before in your life. Come to our apartment.
Please don't come. I don't have food. But yeah, even one of my roommates was like, "Oh, this is like a drive-through kitchen," because literally everybody that I know here, I'm always like, "Oh, I cooked some. Do you guys want to try?" That's my own way of like building that connection with people.
Drive-through kitchen.
Yeah. So I mean, you just have to find what works for you. So it might not just be like online, and also sometimes deleting social media helps. I know I had to delete Instagram for at least 3 months just to be able to get over that feeling of FOMO. FOMO is fear of missing out. When you're seeing everybody's, and also Instagram is just everyone's highlight reels. No one is going to post, or some people do, but not most people are not going to post themselves crying or having like bad. They won't share like bad things on
And then
Instagram.
for real, sorry to cut you, for real, who's gonna cry and then position the phone and say, I want to cry, okay, let me video myself. Really? Like ideally.
Right?
So, I mean, some people do that, but I feel like, with real tears, if you're like down, you wouldn't even think
You
of
won't
a
even think
phone.
of, yeah, like you be like, ooh, why would you put? I mean, I'm not trying to judge, but me, I won't post myself crying on social media, no matter how bad it gets. Please,
My mouth is bad when I cry, so you're not gonna even see that.
yeah, like nah. So most people will only share the good parts about their life on Instagram or just social media in general. So I had to but the thing is, when you're looking at it, your brain does not remind you. It's when you're off, you're like, why am I even stressing? So I had to delete Instagram for a few months just to be able to regain my sense of worth and to remember that I actually have a life in front of me. So that way I won't just miss out on life because I'm looking at other people's lives. Yeah.
If I actually tell you guys some of the things that are not real on Instagram, you guys are gonna be like, oh, so you know a lot about this. But the truth is, just let's talk about this Instagram thing. Let's sit down and talk about it. I think you should go on Instagram if you really want to be there. And I'm not saying you should get out of Instagram because I'm there. I have a private page that is very active. Like I post almost every day, but then it's like a few people I know and I think they are maybe a part of my life. Some of them I'm trying to, see, but that's on the side. But the real story here is just filter the things that are necessary in your life on Instagram. Don't take everything you see on Instagram. Maybe take the truth. but know what your truth is, and then you have to know what is your guideline for. Like for me, it's the Bible, it's the word of knowledge I know, being a Christian. And so being able to separate or filter what you see on Instagram will really help you. Some of you will just see people living life, in America, and you're like, oh, they're having the best life. Why is your life so slow? Why am I lonely here? Don't be like that. I'm begging you. If that's the only thing you take out of this video, don't be like that. Don't use other people's life as a yardstick for yourself. Let me just, I don't want to preach, but let's talk about this. It's
We have to do a separate video for this. I think
yeah,
how to let social media attention you will be
for
also-
real. I think that should be like a whole separate
Yeah, we'll have to
story.
do another-
So I'm gonna keep that to the side, but that would be a whole set because
yeah, absolutely.
it really
It's
hurts
a long
me
topic.
when I see people just come and be like, "Oh, well, my life is not this." So, because that's what starts loneliness. Because you go out there and like, why am I not doing this? Why is my life? Why don't I have friends? And then you start thinking about, okay, I think I'm having issues. So, but again, loneliness, just have that back of your mind when you're coming to this country that it's a possibility to be lonely because you're leaving everything you know back in Nigeria. You're coming to another country to start afresh. And that's what Japa is. You're coming to start afresh. It's not Japa. You're coming to start afresh. You've left everything you knew from growing up back then. You're coming here to start all over. Meaning you've left your friends, your best friends, your buddies. So,
Yeah, no, I had friends in Nigeria. Like,
I
forget
do too.
It's not like we didn't have people back home, but you have to just seek greener pastures for yourself. So yeah, this whole thing about Japanese, I definitely can relate, and my heart goes out to everyone who has complained on social media or in real life that I know of loneliness, and I really hope that they have found that solace and that comfort, and they are able to make fulfilling and long lasting relationships in their lives right now.
And just on the side, just because you're trying to make friends, so be very careful. Don't go out there, just pick someone on social media or even those things because, again, the world is unsafe in general. So because you're lonely doesn't mean that you should just, click on something and then just do it or go there. Please and please be careful, but just find a way to like imbibe yourself in something. Like start, like I said, start online on Zoom. There are games people play on. I know games that you can play on Zoom. Like I've hosted people, I've hosted people on Zoom before for like bridal shower, for their baby shower, and I've done games, on this Zoom stuff. So just start online. Don't be too pressured. Like, hey, I need to find a friend right away. Start online and be very careful. And then from there, you can get to know people, and then go to like safe places, outdoor events. Don't go to somebody's apartment that you don't know or you don't have a link. Do not.
I did not send that. Please, meet up should only be for events that are in public. Don't have you don't have to go to someone's house if you don't know them personally for an event. Please don't for someone. I know for the sake we said you don't have to go to someone's house if you don't know them personally. And also, like, in addition to what Jay has said, what was I going to say?
Well, you can be your friends too, though.
Exactly.
Your online friends, not really in person, but online friends.
Unless you're around the DMV area, then we'll be your friend in real life. But yes, so, and also in your moments of loneliness, like, just remember, not everybody like that claims to be your friend may be your friend. Still try and filter people. Don't just accept because I don't have any friend. Let me just accept this people. But if they're not treating you well, you don't have to stay in a relationship with that person because you don't have any other choice. Don't worry, more people are going to come. But don't let yourself be used or abused because of, I'm trying to avoid being lonely.
And toxicity is not just in opposite sex relationship, like the boyfriend, whatever you guys call those things, dating. Toxicity can be in friendship too. It can be in friendship when you're not being valued or your self-esteem is being reduced just because you're trying to keep a friend. That's not going to help you in the long run because when they zoom out, then you fall back into that same thing. So make sure you have friends that they value you, your goals align, you uplift them, they uplift you, they hold you in the ends to move you forward and not draw you backwards. Have that at the back of your mind, please and please. There's so many opportunities. If you're in school, reach out to the international because every school has this international organization.
International student organization. That's how I even started out. I was also one of like the student leaders in the international students. So yes, most schools, as long as they have international students, they should have international student organizations. So if you're an international student, you can start from there. if you're a person of color, you can start with a group like a Black Student Association, African Student Association. See if your school has something like that and use that one to be able to make friends. If you didn't come as a student, maybe you came for work, see if you can join one of those Facebook groups for immigrants from your country. Like I know, like there's like a Nigerians in Virginia group.
I actually met actually one nursing group actually. So
Exactly. So there's always Facebook groups, like little WhatsApp groups everywhere that you can find, and you don't have to limit yourself to just people from your country. Still be open to meeting. After all, you're in another country, so you should actually take that opportunity to meet people from different countries. Like I've met people from Iran, people from Zimbabwe, so it's
South Korea
Japan,
too.
South Korea. So it's like if I was back
people.
home, I wouldn't have the opportunity to meet most of the people I've met. So definitely take the opportunity that you have as being in a new country to still branch out. So don't limit yourself to just one particular set of people. You should be open to everybody that comes your way.
You will learn a lot from meeting people from
Yes,
different countries. Like
absolutely.
I have friends from Japan, South Korea, and
They're so amazing.
Yeah,
Like,
I learned a
Japanese
lot.
and South Koreans are probably the best.
And even Vietnam. So don't restrict yourself. Again, branch out, branch out, and you know things will work out fine.
Yeah,
trust the process. You came here and you will make it.
You will.
You will. So
if we were able to get through it,
you will.
Believe me, you will.
You will. So shout out to everyone who is expressing Japa loneliness now.
Yeah.
Not shout out. We feel for you.
Yes.
You feel for you.
We are chatting out to you to be strong.
Yeah.
But not to the loneliness. Loneliness should get out.
Yeah.
But you are strong. You are capable, and you're going to get through this, and you're going to emerge victorious.
2024 is not your year of loneliness. It's your year of making friends and branching out.
Exactly. And being on the best form that you and God has given to you.
Amen. Somebody say amen. By the way, because we're talking about Japa loneliness, so that's why we're dressed like this, like to
just give that like
loneliness
comfort,
casual vibe.
Exactly, like homey vibe.
Madam here is wearing Fendi though. On the side.
This is what they call buru make me rich.
Anyways, thank you guys for tuning in today. We love you so much, and we can't wait to hear from you, what you think, what you've done to help you with Japa loneliness in the comment section. People can learn from that too.
Exactly. Actually, you can even make friends in the comment section. You never know. So people comment away. Maybe you can find someone who's also going through something. You guys can actually get a friendship out of it. So yes, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to promote, absorb, and emote. And hopefully you don't get lonely in this journey of life.
Bye for now. Bye. Cheers.